The garage door hummed shut behind me as I wiped my hands on a shop rag, the scent of motor oil and chrome polish still clinging to my clothes. Another 16-hour day at Ashford Auto Detail was finally over. I'd built this business from nothing. Just me, a pressure washer, and enough stubborn pride to keep going when everyone said I'd fail. Helena's BMW sat in our driveway, engine ticking as it cooled. She was home early for once, which should have been good news. 20 years of marriage teaches you to read the signs, though. Early arrivals usually meant something was brewing. I found her in the kitchen, still wearing that sharp black suit that cost more than most people's rent. She was on her phone, back turned to me, voice low and intense. "He's twice the man you'll ever be." The words hit like a wrench to the gut. Not because of their cruelty. Helena had been perfecting that particular blade for months now, but because of their finality. 20 years of marriage, and she'd just reduced me to a mathematical equation. She didn't know I was there, didn't know I'd heard her deliver that calculation with surgical precision, measuring my worth against some phantom superiority in a ratio designed to diminish everything I'd built, everything I believed myself to be. I stood there in the doorway, still holding that greasy shop rag, while my wife explained to someone else exactly how little I meant to her. The kitchen light cast sharp shadows across the granite countertops we'd picked out together 5 years ago, back when she still pretended to care about our shared decisions. "Vincent understands ambition," she continued, her voice dropping to what she probably thought was a whisper. "He doesn't settle for mediocrity." Vincent, her boss at Castellan Marketing, the guy who drove a Mercedes and wore suits that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. I'd met him exactly once, at some company party where he'd looked at me like I was something stuck to his shoe. Helena finally noticed me standing there. Her face shifted through several expressions: surprise, annoyance, then that cold mask she'd been wearing around me for the past 6 months. "I have to go," she said into the phone, then ended the call without waiting for a response. "Working late again?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. 20 years of marriage also teaches you when to pick your battles. Strategy session ran long. She set her phone on the counter with deliberate care, screen down. You wouldn't understand the complexities. There it was, another little cut, precisely placed. Helena had developed a talent for making every conversation feel like a performance review where I consistently failed to meet expectations. "Right," I said. "Well, I'm going to grab a shower." "Sam." Her voice stopped me at the kitchen doorway. "We need to talk." I turned back to face her. She was leaning against the counter now, arms crossed, studying me with the same expression she probably used when evaluating marketing proposals. "About what?" "About us. About where this is going." She gestured between us like she was indicating a particularly disappointing quarterly report. "We both know this isn't working anymore." The honesty was almost refreshing. Almost. "Is that what you were discussing on the phone? With Vincent?" Her jaw tightened. "My conversations with my colleagues are none of your concern." Colleagues. I let the word hang in the air between us. "Is that what we're calling it?" "What exactly are you implying?" I looked at my wife. Really looked at her. The woman I'd married had been softer around the edges, quicker to laugh, slower to judge. This version wore designer armor and spoke in corporate buzzwords. When had she become someone I didn't recognize? "I'm not implying anything, Helena. I'm just trying to understand where I fit in your new world." "That's the problem, isn't it?" She pushed away from the counter, her heels clicking against the tile floor. "You don't fit. You never tried to fit. I built a business. I provide for this family. You detail cars, Sam. You wash other people's vehicles in a garage that smells like chemicals." Her voice carried that particular tone she'd perfected, not quite shouting, but sharp enough to cut. "Meanwhile, I'm working with Fortune 500 companies, developing campaigns that reach millions of people. And Vincent appreciates that. Yes, He does. No hesitation, no shame, just cold confirmation. I nodded slowly, processing this moment that felt like the end of something much larger than a single conversation. Well then, I said finally, I guess you should be with him. She blinked, clearly expecting a different response. Maybe she wanted a fight. Maybe she wanted me to beg or rage or promise to become someone else entirely. Instead, I gave her exactly what she'd asked for: permission to pursue her mathematical certainty with a man who allegedly doubled my value. What's that supposed to mean? It means exactly what it sounds like. If Vincent Castellan is twice the man I'll ever be, then you should be with twice the man. I folded the shop rag and set it on the counter. I won't stand in your way. The silence stretched between us like a canyon. Outside, our neighbor's dog was barking at something in the darkness. The refrigerator hummed. Helena's phone buzzed against the granite, but she didn't reach for it. Just like that? She asked. Just like that. You're not going to fight for us? The question almost made me laugh. Helena, you just told another man that he's twice what I am. What exactly am I supposed to be fighting for? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For the first time in months, she looked uncertain. I'm going to shower, I said. When I come back down, we can discuss the details. I left her standing in the kitchen, staring at her phone like it might provide answers to questions she hadn't thought to ask. Upstairs, I sat on the edge of our bed and pulled out my own phone. Patricia Sinclair had been my attorney for years, handling the business incorporation and a few minor legal issues. She was sharp, thorough, and didn't waste time on pleasantries. Her voicemail picked up after 4 rings. Patricia, it's Sam Ashford. I need to discuss divorce proceedings. Call me back when you get this. I ended the call and set the phone aside. Through the bedroom window, I could see Helena pacing in the kitchen below, her silhouette sharp against the warm light. She was probably calling Vincent back, explaining this unexpected development in their carefully planned future. The shower water was scalding, but I stood under it anyway, letting the heat work through muscles that had been tense for months without me realizing it. When had I stopped fighting for my own marriage? When had I accepted that every conversation would end with me feeling smaller than when it started? Helena's voice echoed in my memory. He's twice the man you'll ever be. Maybe she was right. Maybe Vincent Castellan, with his corner office and his expense account and his ability to appreciate Helena's ambitions, was exactly what she deserved. Maybe I was just a blue-collar guy who'd been punching above his weight class for 20 years. But if that was true, then she was free to go find her superior option. I wasn't going to compete in a contest where the scoring system was rigged against everything I'd ever been. By the time I came back downstairs, Helena was sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of wine and a stack of papers spread in front of her. She looked up when I entered, her expression carefully neutral. I've been thinking about what you said. And? Maybe you're right. Maybe we both deserve better than this. She gestured at the papers. I pulled some financial documents. We should probably get a clear picture of what we're dealing with. I sat down across from her, noting how she'd arranged everything with the same precision she brought to her marketing presentations. Bank statements, mortgage papers, investment accounts, our entire shared life reduced to columns of numbers. This doesn't have to be ugly, she said. We're both adults. We can handle this professionally. Professional, I nodded, like your relationship with Vincent. Her hand tightened around the wine glass. Sam, it's fine, Helena, really. You've made your choice. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't make sense from your perspective. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're ambitious, you're smart, and you want a partner who operates in your world. Vincent can give you that. I can't. I leaned back in my chair. I'm not going to apologize for being exactly who I've always been. She studied my face like she was looking for cracks in my composure. You're taking this very well. What did you expect? Tears? Threats? A dramatic speech about how I'll win you back? I don't know. Something more than... She waved her hand vaguely. This. This is me respecting your decision. You want twice the man? Go get him. My phone buzzed. Patricia Sinclair, returning my call. I need to take this, I said, standing up. Helena watched me walk toward the living room, her expression unreadable. Whatever she'd expected from this conversation, my calm acceptance clearly wasn't it. Sam? Patricia's voice was crisp and professional. Got your message. What's the situation? My wife is having an affair with her boss. She made it clear tonight that she considers him an upgrade. I want to file for divorce immediately. Understood. Can you come in tomorrow morning? We'll need to discuss assets, custody if applicable, and strategy. No kids, just assets and a clean break. Even better. 9 a.m. work for you? Perfect. I ended the call and returned to the kitchen. Helena was still sitting at the table, but she'd poured herself another glass of wine. Attorney? She asked. Patricia Sinclair. I'll be filing papers tomorrow. Helena nodded slowly. I suppose I should call someone too. Probably a good idea. We sat there for a moment, 20 years of marriage dissolving into logistics and legal procedures. It should have felt more dramatic, more painful. Instead, it felt like the natural conclusion to a story that had been ending for months. For what it's worth, Helena said finally, I didn't plan for this to happen. But you're not sorry it did? She considered that. No, I'm not. Then we understand each other. I stood up, leaving her with her wine and her papers and her carefully organized vision of our dismantled life. Sam? She called as I reached the doorway. Yeah? What will you tell people? About why we're divorcing? I looked back at her, this woman I'd loved for 2 decades, who'd just calculated my worth and found me lacking. I'll tell them the truth. You found someone better. Patricia Sinclair's office occupied the 3rd floor of a converted brownstone downtown, the kind of building that had seen better decades but maintained its dignity through careful maintenance and strategic renovations. The waiting room smelled like leather and coffee, with law books lining the walls and certificates arranged in precise rows behind the receptionist's desk. I'd been coming here for 5 years, ever since I'd incorporated the business. Patricia handled contracts, dealt with suppliers who tried to stiff me, and generally made sure I didn't get steamrolled by people who assumed a guy with grease under his fingernails couldn't read the fine print. She emerged from her office at exactly 9 a.m., wearing a navy suit that probably cost half what Helena spent on clothes, but somehow looked more expensive. Patricia had that effect. Everything about her was understated but absolutely competent. Sam. She shook my hand with a firm grip. Come in. Coffee? Please. Her office was exactly what you'd expect from someone who'd built a successful practice representing small business owners and working people. Clean, organized, but not flashy. The kind of place where you knew you'd get straight answers and fair billing. So, she said, settling behind her desk with a legal pad and a pen. Tell me about yesterday. I walked her through the conversation, keeping to the facts. Helena's phone call, the comment about Vincent being twice the man I'd ever be, the surprisingly civil discussion that followed. And you're certain about the affair? She didn't deny it when I asked directly. Plus, she's been working late 3 nights a week for the past 4 months, always with Vincent and the strategy team. I accepted the coffee cup she offered. I'm not a detective, but I'm not an idiot either. Patricia made notes in her precise handwriting. Assets? House is worth about $400,000. We owe $220 on the mortgage. My business is probably worth another $150, maybe $200 if you count equipment and customer contracts. Joint savings account has about $30,000. Her 401k is bigger than mine. She makes more than I do. Significantly more? She pulls down about $140 a year. I'm closer to $80 depending on the season. No children? We tried for years. Never happened. That old ache was still there, but duller now. Probably for the best, given how this turned out. Patricia nodded, still writing. Any reason to expect this to get contentious? Helena likes to win, but she also likes to look good doing it. If we can make this seem civilized and mutual, she'll probably go along with it. What about the boyfriend? What about him? Is he married? I paused, coffee cup halfway to my lips. I honestly don't know. Why? Because if he is, and if his wife doesn't know about the affair, that gives us leverage. Not to be vindictive, but to ensure your wife doesn't try to hide assets or play games with the settlement. I'll find out. Good. Patricia set down her pen and leaned back in her chair. Sam, I have to ask, are you sure about this? I've seen a lot of marriages go through rough patches. Sometimes people say things they don't mean when they're angry or frustrated. She wasn't angry when she said it. She was matter of fact, like she was explaining why she preferred one brand of coffee over another. That actually makes it worse. Yeah, I know. Patricia pulled a thick folder from her desk drawer. Divorce papers. I'll need you to review these and sign where indicated. Once that's done, we'll have them served to Helena at her workplace. At work? I raised an eyebrow. Isn't that a little harsh? It's professional, clean, and it establishes that this is a business transaction, not an emotional breakdown. She slid the folder across the desk. Trust me, Sam, you want this handled properly from the beginning. I spent the next hour reading through legal language that essentially boiled down to, this marriage is over, here's how we're going to divide everything. Please sign here to make it official. Patricia explained each section, answered my questions, and made sure I understood exactly what I was agreeing to. One more thing, she said as I signed the final page. I'd recommend changing the locks on your house and your business. Also, separate your bank accounts immediately. Not because I expect trouble, but because it's smart to protect yourself. Already planned on it. Good. We'll have these served tomorrow morning. Helena will have 30 days to respond with her own attorney. I left Patricia's office feeling strangely lighter, like I'd been carrying a weight I hadn't realized was there. The morning was crisp and clear, the kind of October day that made you remember why you lived in upstate New York despite the winters. My phone rang as I was walking to my truck. Helena's number. Sam, where are you? Your truck wasn't in the driveway when I left for work. Downtown. Had some errands to run. Oh, well, I wanted to talk to you about something. Can you meet me for lunch? What about? About us. About how we handle this transition. Her voice had that careful quality she used in business meetings. I think we should present a united front, especially if people start asking questions. What kind of united front? Mature adults who realized they wanted different things. No drama, no finger-pointing. Just two people who grew apart and decided to handle it responsibly. I almost laughed. Even our divorce was going to be a marketing campaign. Sure, I said. Where do you want to meet? That little place on Elm Street? Noon? I'll be there. The Elm Street Cafe was the kind of restaurant that specialized in overpriced salads and artisanal sandwiches for people who worked in offices and had expense accounts. I'd eaten there exactly twice in the past 5 years, both times because Helena wanted to try somewhere new. She was already seated when I arrived, at a table near the window where she could see and be seen. Helena had always been conscious of her public image, but lately it seemed like every decision was calculated for maximum social impact. You look tired, she said as I sat down. Long night. I know this is difficult, Sam. It's difficult for me, too. I studied her face, looking for signs of the woman I'd married. She was still beautiful. Helena had always taken care of herself, but there was something harder in her expression now, more calculated. Is it? Of course it is. We've been together for 20 years. That doesn't just disappear overnight. The waitress appeared, and Helena ordered a quinoa salad with grilled chicken. I asked for a burger and coffee, which earned me a slight frown. "So," Helena said once we were alone again, "I've been thinking about timing." "Timing?" "When we announce this, how we frame it." She leaned forward slightly, her voice dropping to what she probably thought was a confidential tone. "I have a big presentation next week, and Vincent thinks— I think it would be better to wait until after that to make any public announcements." "Vincent thinks." Her cheeks colored slightly. "He's been very supportive during this difficult time." "I bet he has." "Sam, please. Can we try to keep this civil?" "I'm being perfectly civil. I'm just noting that your boyfriend has opinions about our divorce timeline." "He's not my—" She stopped, glanced around the restaurant, then lowered her voice further. "We're colleagues, friends, that's all." "Right." Our food arrived, providing a temporary distraction from the conversation. Helena picked at her salad while I worked on my burger, both of us probably wondering how we'd gotten to this point. "I saw Patricia Sinclair this morning," I said finally. Helena's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "Already?" "Already. That seems fast. You said last night that we both deserved better than what we have. I'm just making sure you get the chance to find it." She set down her fork and reached for her water glass. "What did she say? About the process?" "Standard stuff. Asset division, paperwork, timeline, nothing complicated." "Good. Good that it's straightforward." Helena seemed to be choosing her words carefully. "I've been thinking about the house." "What about it?" "Well, it's probably too big for one person, and the maintenance costs." She trailed off, watching my reaction. "You want to sell it?" "I think it makes sense. We could split the proceeds, and then we'd both be free to start fresh somewhere else." Somewhere else. Like maybe closer to Vincent's neighborhood, where the houses had 3-car garages and HOA fees that cost more than most people's rent. "Fine by me," I said. "I never really liked that kitchen anyway." Helena blinked. "You picked out that kitchen." "No, you picked out that kitchen. I just wrote the checks." "Sam." "What? Are you angry with me? Really angry?" I considered the question while I finished my burger. Was I angry? Hurt? Relieved? All of the above? "I'm disappointed," I said finally. "But not angry. You can't help what you want, Helena. And apparently, what you want is Vincent Castellan. It's not that simple." "Isn't it?" She looked out the window, watching people walk past on the sidewalk. Office workers heading back from lunch, probably discussing quarterly reports and strategic initiatives, and all the things that mattered in Helena's world. "I need more than what we have," she said quietly. "I need someone who understands ambition, who wants to build something bigger than just getting by. And I'm just getting by. You're comfortable with where you are. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not enough for me anymore." I signaled the waitress for the check. "Then you should definitely be with Vincent." "Stop saying that." "Why? It's what you want." "Yes, but you don't have to keep throwing it in my face." "I'm not throwing anything, I'm agreeing with you." I pulled out my wallet. "You've made your choice, I respect it. Now we just need to handle the paperwork." Helena stared at me like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. Maybe she'd expected me to fight harder, to make dramatic promises about changing or becoming someone else. But I'd learned a long time ago that you can't argue someone into loving you. "The papers will be served tomorrow," I said, standing up. "At your office." "At my office?" Her voice rose slightly. "Sam, that's humiliating." "It's professional, just like everything else about this." I left her sitting at the table, probably calculating how to spin this development for her colleagues. Outside, the October air felt clean and sharp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and the promise of winter. My phone buzzed with a text from Denny, my only full-time employee. "Mrs. Henderson wants to know if you can detail her Lexus tomorrow. Said it's urgent." I typed back, "Tell her yes. And Denny, We're going to be busy for the next few weeks. Spread the word that we're taking new customers. If Helena wanted to start fresh, then so would I. But I was going to do it my way, not according to some marketing strategy designed to minimize embarrassment and maximize social standing. Tomorrow, she'd get those divorce papers. And then we'd see how well Vincent Castellan handled being twice the man when the numbers were actually on the table. The process server arrived at Castellan Marketing at exactly 10:30 a.m., just as Helena was settling into her Tuesday morning strategy meeting. I knew this because Denny's sister worked in the building's coffee shop, and she texted him updates like she was providing play-by-play commentary. "Professional guy in a suit just went up to the 15th floor," she wrote. "Looked like he was carrying important papers." I was under the hood of a 2018 Mustang when the text came through, replacing a worn serpentine belt and trying not to think about what was happening across town. But concentration was impossible when you knew your wife was about to receive the legal documentation of your marriage's end in front of all her colleagues. "Delivered," came the next text, 20 minutes later. Lady at the reception desk looked shocked. "Whole floor got quiet real fast." Denny read the messages over my shoulder, grinning like this was better than cable television. "Boss, you sure you want to know all this?" "No," I said, tightening the belt tensioner, "but I can't seem to stop myself." My phone rang at 11:15. Helena, of course. Sam. Her voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the strain underneath. "We need to talk. I'm working." "This couldn't wait? You had to have me served at the office in front of everyone?" Patricia said it was the most professional approach. Professional. She practically spat the word. "Do you have any idea how humiliating this was?" Vincent was in the meeting. My entire team saw the process server ask for me by name. "And what did you tell them?" Silence for a long moment. "I told them it was a business matter related to your company." Smart. Technically true. "Sam, please. Can we meet somewhere and discuss this like adults?" "We discussed it yesterday. You want Vincent, I want out. The papers make it official. There are details we need to work through. Financial arrangements, the house, timing. My attorney will handle the details. That's what I pay her for." Another silence. Longer this time. When Helena spoke again, her voice had shifted to that careful, professional tone she used when she was trying to manage a difficult client. "I understand you're upset. I'm not upset. I'm busy. Mrs. Henderson needs her Lexus detailed by 3, and I've got 2 more appointments after that." "You're choosing car detailing over our marriage?" "Helena, our marriage ended last night when you told Vincent Castellan that he's twice the man I'll ever be. Everything else is just paperwork." I ended the call and went back to work on the Mustang. Denny was watching me with the expression of someone who wanted to say something supportive but couldn't find the right words. "You okay, boss?" "I'm fine. Hand me that socket wrench." But I wasn't fine exactly. I was something else. Focused, maybe, or determined. Like I'd been sleepwalking for months and had suddenly woken up with perfect clarity about what needed to happen next. The rest of the week passed in a blur of detailed cars and legal phone calls. Patricia walked me through Helena's response to the divorce filing, which was exactly what we'd expected. Agreement to dissolve the marriage, requests for specific asset divisions, and a timeline that would finalize everything within 60 days. "She's being reasonable," Patricia noted during our Friday afternoon call. "No demands for alimony, fair split on the house and savings. Her attorney is competent but not aggressive." "Good. There is one interesting detail, though. She's requesting that the house be sold immediately, with proceeds split equally. Most people want to wait until after the divorce is final." "She probably wants to buy something else quickly." "Probably. Any idea where she's planning to move?" I thought about Vincent Castellan's neighborhood, with its manicured lawns and HOA regulations and houses that cost more than most people made in 5 years. Somewhere more appropriate to her new lifestyle. "Understood. I'll approve the expedited sale. Anything else I should know?" "Not yet." But that wasn't entirely true. There was something else, a piece of information that had been nagging at me since Tuesday's phone call. Helena's reaction to being served at the office had been about more than just embarrassment. It was about Vincent seeing her receive divorce papers, about him realizing that her marriage was officially ending, which suggested that maybe Vincent Castellan wasn't quite as ready for that development as Helena assumed. Saturday morning, I drove to the public library and spent 2 hours researching Vincent Castellan online. Social media profiles, business articles, company press releases, anything that might tell me more about the man who was apparently twice what I'd ever be. What I found was interesting. Vincent Castellan, 47, CEO of Castellan Marketing for 8 years, graduate of Syracuse University, MBA from Cornell, board member of 3 local charities, married to Claire Castellan for 15 years, 2 children, ages 12 and 9, married. Helena either didn't know or didn't care that her twice-the-man was already committed to someone else, which meant she was either incredibly naive or incredibly selfish. Given what I'd learned about her over the past week, I was betting on selfish. I printed out several articles and photos, including a recent piece from the Business Journal about Castellan Marketing's expansion plans. Vincent looked exactly like what Helena would want: expensive suit, confident smile, the kind of polished appearance that suggested success and sophistication. But he also looked like the kind of man who was very careful about his public image, the kind of man who wouldn't appreciate having his personal life become the subject of office gossip. Monday morning brought another text from Denny's sister. Your wife and her boss just got into the elevator together. Looked pretty intense. I was detailing a BMW sedan, working on the interior leather, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Sam Ashford. Speaking. This is Claire Castellan. I believe you know my husband, Vincent. I straightened up, suddenly very alert. Mrs. Castellan, what can I do for you? I was hoping we could meet for coffee. I think we have some things to discuss. Such as? Such as the fact that your wife has been calling my husband at all hours, and he's been acting like a teenager with his first crush. Her voice was crisp, educated, with an edge of steel underneath. I did some research after I found your divorce filing in the public records. Apparently, we're both dealing with the same problem. I see. Do you? Because I'm not sure you understand the full scope of what's happening here. Why don't you enlighten me? Coffee first. There's a place called Brewster's on Main Street. 1 o'clock? I'll be there. Claire Castellan was exactly what I'd expected. Polished, well-dressed, with the kind of understated elegance that comes from old money and good breeding. She was already seated when I arrived at a corner table away from the lunch crowd. Mr. Ashford. She stood to shake my hand, her grip firm and confident. Thank you for meeting me. Call me Sam. Claire. She gestured to the chair across from her. I took the liberty of ordering you coffee. Black, no sugar. I hope that's acceptable. I sat down, studying her face. Claire Castellan was attractive in the way that wealthy women often were, well-maintained, carefully styled, with the kind of bone structure that aged gracefully. But there was something harder in her expression, a sharpness that suggested she didn't suffer fools gladly. So, I said, you know about Helena. I know my husband is having an affair with your wife. I know she's been telling people at the office that she's getting divorced. And I know Vincent has been making promises he has no intention of keeping. What kind of promises? Claire reached into her purse and pulled out a small digital recorder. The kind where he tells her he's going to leave me and marry her as soon as your divorce is final. She pressed play. Vincent's voice filled the space between us, smooth and confident. Just need to be patient, Helena. These things take time. Claire and I have been growing apart for years, but I need to handle this delicately. The kids, the business relationships. Helena's voice responded. I understand. It's just difficult. Pretending we're just colleagues when everyone at the office knows there's something between us. Soon, sweetheart. Once Sam is out of the picture and things settle down, we'll figure out the next steps. Claire stopped the recording and put the device back in her purse. How long have you known? I asked. About Helena specifically? 2 weeks? About Vincent's pattern of behavior? Much longer? Pattern? My husband has a weakness for ambitious women who work for him. Helena is the third one in 5 years. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. The third one. Simone Vega from HR was the first, then Natasha Webb from the creative department, now Helena. Claire's voice was matter-of-fact, like she was discussing quarterly earnings. Vincent likes the chase, the conquest, the feeling of being admired by women who see him as powerful and sophisticated. But he has no intention of actually leaving me. Why not? Because I control 40% of Castellan marketing. My father provided the initial investment capital when Vincent started the company. If we divorce, I get half of everything, including voting control of the business. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Vincent may be charming, but he's not stupid enough to give up his company for a middle management marketing director. I leaned back in my chair, processing this information. Helena thought she was trading up from a blue-collar husband to a wealthy CEO, but she was actually just the latest in a series of office affairs. What do you want from me? I asked. I want to propose a partnership. What kind of partnership? Claire leaned forward slightly, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. I want to teach both of them a lesson they'll never forget. And I think you might be interested in helping me do it. I'm listening. Vincent thinks he's untouchable because he's careful about keeping his affairs separate from his business. But Helena is different. She's not just another employee he's sleeping with. She's making demands, expecting promises to be kept, causing drama at the office. And that's a problem for him. It's a problem for his reputation. Vincent's entire image is built on being the successful family man who runs a clean professional company. If word gets out that he's been systematically seducing his female employees, it damages everything he's built. So what are you suggesting? Claire smiled, and this time there was definitely warmth in it, the kind of warmth that comes from anticipating revenge. I'm suggesting we give them exactly what they think they want, and then we show them what it actually costs. She outlined her plan over the next 20 minutes, and I had to admit it was elegant in its simplicity. Vincent and Helena thought they were playing a sophisticated game of corporate romance, but they were actually just following a script that Claire had seen played out twice before. The beauty of it, she explained, is that they'll destroy themselves. We just need to create the right circumstances. And you think this will work? I know it will work, because I know my husband, and I know his weaknesses. Vincent can't resist showing off, especially when he thinks he's won something valuable. I thought about Helena's comment from that first night. He's twice the man you'll ever be. What do you need from me? Patience, and the willingness to let Helena think she's getting everything she wants. For how long? 6 weeks, maybe 8. Claire finished her coffee and stood up. Can you handle that? I looked at this woman who'd been betrayed by her husband but refused to be a victim, who'd turned her pain into strategy and her anger into action. Yeah, I said. I can handle that. Excellent. She handed me a business card with her personal number written on the back. I'll be in touch. I watched her walk away, moving through the coffee shop with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was doing and exactly how it was going to end. My phone buzzed with another text from Denny's sister. Big argument on the 15th floor. Your wife looked upset. Boss man looked annoyed. I typed back, keep watching. Things are about to get interesting. Claire Castellan called me 3 days later with an update that confirmed everything she'd predicted about her husband's behavior. Vincent's getting nervous, she said without preamble. Helena's been pushing him about timeline, asking when he's going to tell me about their relationship. She even suggested they could move in together once your divorce is final. I was in the garage, working on a vintage Camaro that belonged to one of my regular customers. The repetitive work of buffing out scratches and applying wax helped me think clearly. How do you know all this? Vincent's not as careful as he thinks he is. He leaves his phone lying around, takes calls in his home office with the door open. Plus, I've been recording conversations for weeks. And he's starting to realize that Helena expects him to actually follow through on his promises, which is making him panic. I set down the buffing cloth and walked outside, away from Denny's curious ears. What's his plan? The same plan he used with Simone and Natasha. String her along for a few more weeks, then find an excuse to end things. Usually something about how the timing isn't right, or how he needs to focus on his children, or how the business is going through a difficult period. But Helena's different. Helena's different because she's already divorced. Simone and Natasha were single. When Vincent ended things, they could just transfer to different departments and pretend nothing happened. But Helena burned her bridges when she left you. She's all in on this relationship. I thought about my wife's confidence over the past few weeks, the way she'd been planning for a future that apparently existed only in her imagination. She has no idea what's coming. None at all, and that's where you come in. Claire explained the next phase of her plan, which was both more complex and more elegant than I'd expected. Instead of simply exposing Vincent's pattern of affairs, she wanted to engineer a situation where Helena would discover the truth herself in the most humiliating way possible. I need you to seem like you're moving on, she said. Dating someone new, maybe. Something that will make Helena feel like she needs to accelerate her timeline with Vincent. You want me to fake a relationship. I want you to create urgency. Helena's comfortable right now because she thinks you're sitting at home, pining away for her. If she sees that you're not waiting around, she'll pressure Vincent to make their relationship public. And when he refuses, that's when things get interesting. The plan required more acting ability than I'd thought I possessed, but Claire had thought through every detail. She'd even identified the perfect person to help us, Patricia Sinclair, my divorce attorney. Patricia's attractive, professional, age-appropriate, Claire noted during our second coffee meeting, and she's recently divorced herself, so she understands the situation. You want me to ask my attorney to pretend to date me? I want you to ask your attorney to have dinner with you in public, maybe attend a community event together. Nothing inappropriate, just visible enough that word gets back to Helena. And you think Patricia will agree to this? I think Patricia will agree to help a client who's been treated badly by his wife, especially when she understands the full scope of what we're trying to accomplish. Claire was right. When I explained the situation to Patricia the next day, she listened with the focused attention of someone who'd seen too many divorce cases where one spouse got taken advantage of. So Helena thinks she's trading up to this Vincent character, but he's actually just using her. That's the situation. And his wife wants to teach them both a lesson. A comprehensive lesson. Patricia leaned back in her chair, considering. What exactly would you need me to do? Have dinner with me somewhere public. Maybe attend the Chamber of Commerce mixer next week. Just enough visibility to suggest we're spending time together. And this will accomplish what? It will make Helena realize that I'm not sitting around waiting for her to come back, which will make her push Vincent to commit to their relationship. Which he won't do. Which he can't do, because it would cost him his business. Patricia was quiet for a long moment, then smiled. You know what? I like it. Helena sounds like the kind of person who needs to learn that actions have consequences. Is that a yes? That's a yes. But I choose the restaurant. The Riverside Grill was exactly the kind of place where Helena and her colleagues went for business lunches. Upscale enough to impress clients, visible enough that you were guaranteed to see people you knew. Patricia had chosen well. We were seated at a table near the window, where anyone walking past could see us clearly. Patricia looked elegant in a dark blue dress that was professional but definitely not businesslike. If someone wanted to interpret this as a date, they'd have plenty of evidence. You know, Patricia said, cutting into her salmon. I haven't been on a fake date in 20 years. This is actually kind of fun. Fake date? Oh, please. We both know this is theater. Very sophisticated theater, but theater nonetheless. I laughed, realizing I was actually enjoying myself for the first time in weeks. Is it that obvious? To me, yes. To anyone who might be watching and reporting back to your wife, absolutely not. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw you at Riverside with a very attractive woman. Hope you're doing well. Janet Morrison. Janet Morrison was Helena's hairdresser, which meant Helena would know about this dinner within 24 hours. Showtime, I said, showing Patricia the text. Perfect. Should we order dessert? Really sell the romantic atmosphere? Why not? We spent another hour at the restaurant, talking about everything except divorce proceedings and revenge plots. Patricia was intelligent, funny, and refreshingly straightforward, the kind of woman who said exactly what she meant and expected the same from others. Can I ask you something? She said as we were waiting for the check. Sure. Are you doing this because you want to hurt Helena, or because you want to understand why she hurt you? I considered the question. Both, maybe, but mostly because I want her to understand what she actually chose. And what did she choose? A fantasy. Vincent Castellan isn't going to leave his wife for Helena. He's just using her until he gets bored and moves on to the next ambitious woman who works for him. And you want her to figure that out the hard way. I want her to figure that out the same way I figured out she didn't love me anymore, by having it explained to her in terms that leave no room for misinterpretation. Patricia nodded slowly. That's fair. Cruel, maybe, but fair. The check arrived, and I insisted on paying despite Patricia's protests. As we were leaving, she took my arm in a gesture that could easily be interpreted as affectionate by anyone watching. Sam? She said, as we reached the parking lot. Yeah? For what it's worth, I think Helena's an idiot. Vincent Castellan might have more money than you, but he's not twice the man you are. He's not even half. I drove home feeling lighter than I had in weeks, and not just because the plan was working. Patricia's comment had reminded me that there were people in the world who valued things other than wealth and status and corporate success. My phone rang as I was pulling into my driveway. Helena, right on schedule. Sam, we need to talk. About what? About moving forward, about both of us starting new chapters in our lives. I thought that's what we were already doing. I mean, really moving forward. I heard you were out tonight, with someone. I was. Patricia Sinclair. We had dinner. Silence for a moment. Your attorney? She's also an interesting woman who enjoys good food and intelligent conversation. Sam, don't you think it's a little soon to be dating? Our divorce isn't even final yet. I almost laughed at the irony. Helena, you've been sleeping with your boss for months. I think I'm entitled to have dinner with someone. That's different. How? Vincent and it's complicated. We work together. We have a professional relationship that evolved into something personal. And Patricia and I have a professional relationship that might evolve into something personal. It's not the same thing. You're right, it's not. Patricia's not married to someone else. Another silence, longer this time. When Helena spoke again, her voice had that edge I'd learned to recognize, the tone she used when she was trying to control a situation that was slipping away from her. I just think we should both be careful about how we handle this transition. People are watching, talking. We don't want to give them the wrong impression. What impression would that be? That either of us is being vindictive or petty. Helena, I'm having dinner with my attorney. You're having an affair with your married boss. If anyone's giving the wrong impression, it's not me. I ended the call before she could respond, then sat in my truck for a few minutes, watching the lights in the house I'd be selling within the next month. 20 years of marriage, reduced to a real estate transaction and a legal proceeding. But for the first time since this whole thing started, I wasn't thinking about what I was losing. I was thinking about what I might be gaining. The freedom to have dinner with intelligent women who didn't measure my worth in corporate titles and salary figures. My phone buzzed with a text from Claire Castellan. Vincent just had a very tense phone conversation with someone named Helena. Something about moving too fast and needing to be more discreet. Phase 2 is working perfectly. I typed back. How long until Phase 3? 2 weeks, maybe less. Helena's going to force the issue sooner than Vincent wants. And when she does, he's going to show her exactly what kind of man he really is. I went inside and poured myself a drink, then sat in the living room that Helena had decorated with expensive furniture and carefully chosen artwork. Everything was tasteful, coordinated, designed to impress visitors and reflect well on our social status. In 2 weeks, none of it would matter. Helena would learn that Vincent Castellan was never going to give her the life she thought she was trading up to, and I would be free to build something real with someone who valued substance over appearances. The mathematics of betrayal were finally starting to add up in my favor. Claire's prediction was off by exactly 3 days. Helena forced the issue on a Wednesday morning, and by Wednesday evening, Vincent Castellan's carefully constructed world was beginning to collapse. The call came from Patricia at 10:30 a.m., just as I was finishing the interior detail on a Mercedes sedan. Sam, you need to hear this. I just got off the phone with Helena's attorney. She wants to accelerate the divorce proceedings. Accelerate how? She wants everything finalized within 2 weeks. House sale, asset division, final decree, the whole thing. I set down the leather cleaner and walked outside where I could talk privately. Why the rush? According to her attorney, Helena has personal reasons for wanting to move forward quickly. I'm guessing those personal reasons have something to do with Vincent Castellan making promises he can't keep, or promises he's trying to get out of. Either way, it's working in our favor. If Helena wants this done fast, we can accommodate that. But Sam, once this is finalized, there's no going back. I understand. Do you? Because accelerating this timeline means Helena's going to be legally single and available in 2 weeks. If Vincent was planning to string her along for months, she's about to force his hand. I thought about Claire's recordings, about Vincent's pattern with his previous affairs, about the look on Helena's face when she told me he was twice the man I'd ever be. Good, I said. Let her force it. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Sam, are you sure about this? About all of it? Because once we set this in motion, a lot of people are going to get hurt. Helena made her choice. Vincent made his. I'm just making sure they both understand the consequences. All right. I'll call her attorney back and agree to the accelerated timeline, but I want to see you before this goes any further. There are things you need to know about what happens next. I met Patricia at her office that afternoon, and she walked me through the final divorce paperwork with the thoroughness of someone who wanted to make sure I understood exactly what I was agreeing to. House goes on the market Friday. With the current market conditions, we should have offers within a week. Asset division is straightforward. You keep the business and your truck, she keeps her car and her 401k, you split everything else down the middle. And then? And then, you're officially divorced and free to do whatever you want with your life. Patricia leaned back in her chair, studying my face with the expression of someone who'd seen too many people make decisions they'd later regret. There's something else, she said. Claire Castellan called me this morning. About what? About what happens after Helena realizes Vincent isn't going to leave his wife. Claire thinks Helena might try to come back to you. That's not happening. Are you sure? Because according to Claire, Helena's been telling people at the office that this divorce is just a formality, that she and Vincent are planning to get married as soon as it's final. And Vincent knows this? Vincent knows this. And according to Claire, he's starting to panic. Apparently, Helena's been pressuring him to make their relationship public, to start looking at houses together, to meet his children. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. She's serious about this. She's serious about this, which means when Vincent finally tells her the truth, she's going to be devastated. Good. Patricia raised an eyebrow. Good? Sam, we're talking about a woman who's about to lose everything. Her marriage, her relationship, possibly her job if this creates enough drama at the office. She chose this, Patricia. All of it. I know. But when it all falls apart, she might try to convince you that she made a mistake, that she wants to work things out. And you think I might be tempted to take her back. I think you loved her for 20 years, and that kind of history doesn't disappear overnight. I considered this, trying to imagine a scenario where Helena came back to me, apologizing and asking for another chance. 6 months ago, I might have been tempted, but that was before she'd measured my worth against Vincent Castellan's bank account and found me lacking. It's not going to happen, I said finally. But I appreciate the warning. Good. Because Claire has one more request. Which is? She wants you to be there when Helena finds out the truth about Vincent. Not to gloat or to say, I told you so, but to make sure Helena understands that there's no going back. Where and when? Tomorrow night. Vincent's taking Helena to the Chamber of Commerce Gala, the same event where you and I made our public debut last week. Claire's going to be there too, with their children. Vincent's bringing his family? Vincent doesn't know Helena's going to be there. She bought tickets and told him she'd meet him there as a surprise. But Claire found out about Helena's plan, and she's decided to turn it into a teaching moment. I thought about Helena getting dressed up for what she probably thought would be her debut as Vincent's official girlfriend, only to discover that he'd brought his wife and children to the same event. That's brutal. That's justice. Helena needs to see Vincent's real priorities, and Vincent needs to face the consequences of his promises. And you want me there because Helena's going to need a ride home, and because you need to see this through to the end. The Chamber of Commerce Gala was held at the Riverside Hotel, the same place where I'd followed Helena and Vincent 6 weeks earlier. The irony wasn't lost on me as I walked through the lobby in my best suit, looking for Claire Castellan among the crowd of local business leaders and their spouses. I found her near the bar, elegant in a black dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. She was with 2 children, a boy who looked about 12 and a girl who was maybe 9, both dressed up and clearly excited to be at a grown-up party. Sam. Claire smiled and introduced me to her children as Daddy's business associate. They shook my hand politely, then wandered off to investigate the dessert table. Vincent's here, she said quietly. Table 12 near the stage. He looks nervous. I glanced across the room and spotted him immediately. Vincent Castellan was exactly as I'd imagined, tall, well-dressed, with the kind of confident bearing that suggested he was used to being the most important person in any room. But tonight, he kept checking his phone and looking toward the entrance like he was expecting trouble. Helena? Should be here any minute. She texted Vincent 20 minutes ago to say she was running late but would meet him here. And he has no idea she's coming. None at all. As far as he knows, this is a family evening out. The ballroom was filling up with the usual mix of local politicians, business owners, and their families. I recognized several faces from previous events, people I'd met through Helena's work connections back when I'd still been trying to fit into her professional world. There. Claire nodded toward the entrance. Right on schedule. Helena entered the ballroom like she was making a grand entrance at a movie premiere. She was wearing a red dress I'd never seen before, something that probably cost more than she usually spent on clothes in 6 months. Her hair was styled differently too, more sophisticated, more expensive looking. She was dressed for the life she thought she was about to start living. I watched her scan the room, looking for Vincent. When she spotted him, her face lit up with genuine happiness. She started walking toward his table, moving with the confidence of someone who believed she belonged there. Vincent saw her coming and went pale. He stood up quickly, clearly intending to intercept her before she reached his table, but he was too late. "Vincent!" Helena's voice carried across the room as she approached. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible. She leaned in to kiss him, but Vincent stepped back, glancing nervously at his wife and children. Helena, what are you doing here? I told you I'd meet you here, remember? I bought tickets last week. Claire chose that moment to stand up and turn toward them, her children flanking her like a perfectly arranged family portrait. Vincent? She said, her voice carrying just enough confusion to sound genuine. Who's this? The silence that followed was the kind you could feel in your chest. Helena looked from Vincent to Claire to the children, her expression shifting from confusion to understanding to something approaching horror. This is Helena Ashford, Vincent said finally, his voice tight. From the office. She's here with the marketing team. Actually, Helena said, her voice rising slightly, I'm here with you, as your date, remember? Claire's eyebrows rose in perfectly calculated surprise. Your date? Vincent? I think there's been some misunderstanding. Mom? The 12-year-old boy was looking back and forth between his parents, clearly sensing the tension. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, sweetheart, Claire said smoothly. Why don't you and your sister go get some more dessert? Helena was staring at Vincent with the expression of someone who'd just realized she'd been played. Vincent, what's going on? Who is this woman? This woman, Claire said before Vincent could answer, is his wife, and these are his children. We've been married for 15 years. But Vincent told me... Helena stopped, glancing around at the people who were starting to stare. He said you were separated. He said you were getting divorced. Did he? Claire's voice was conversational, almost friendly. How interesting. Vincent, did you tell Ms. Ashford we were getting divorced? Vincent looked like a man who'd just realized he was standing in quicksand. Claire, please, can we discuss this privately? I think we're past private discussions, don't you? After all, Ms. Ashford seems to think she's your date tonight. Helena's face was cycling through emotions, confusion, anger, embarrassment, and something that might have been desperation. Vincent, explain this, now. Helena, you need to understand. I understand perfectly. Helena's voice was getting louder, drawing more attention from nearby tables. You lied to me about everything. It's complicated. Complicated? Helena laughed, but there was no humor in it. You told me you loved me. You told me you were going to leave your wife. You told me we were going to be together. The ballroom had gone quiet around them, conversations stopping as people turned to watch the drama unfolding near table 12. Ms. Ashford, Claire said gently, I think you should know that Vincent has never filed for divorce. We're not separated, we're not having marital problems, and he's never mentioned leaving me. That's impossible. We've been together for months. We've made plans. You've made plans, Vincent said quietly. I never promised you anything definitive. The words hit Helena like a physical blow. She stepped back, looking around the room at all the faces watching her public humiliation. You son of a... She started, then stopped, apparently remembering where she was and who was listening. Helena... Vincent reached for her arm, but she jerked away from him. Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again. She turned and walked quickly toward the exit, her heels clicking against the marble floor. The room stayed quiet until she was gone. Then conversations gradually resumed with the subdued buzz of people who'd just witnessed something uncomfortable. Vincent sat down heavily, his face pale and his hands shaking slightly. Claire placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. I think, she said quietly, we need to have a conversation when we get home. I followed Helena outside, finding her in the hotel parking lot, leaning against a car and crying. The red dress that had looked so perfect an hour ago now seemed garish under the parking lot lights. Helena. She looked up, her makeup smeared and her eyes red. Sam? What are you doing here? I was at the gala. I saw what happened. Of course you were. Of course you saw that. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Come to gloat? Come to offer you a ride home. She stared at me for a long moment, then laughed bitterly. A ride home, from my ex-husband, after my boyfriend's wife just humiliated me in front of half the business community. Helena, he lied to me, Sam, about everything. His marriage, his plans, his feelings. All of it was lies. I know. You know? How could you possibly know? I looked at this woman I'd been married to for 20 years, who'd measured my worth against Vincent Castellan's and found me lacking, who was now discovering that her twice the man was actually half the person she'd thought he was. Because men like Vincent Castellan don't leave their wives for women like you, Helena. They just don't. Women like me? Women who work for them. Women who are convenient and disposable and easily replaced. She flinched like I'd slapped her. That's cruel. It's honest, which is more than Vincent ever gave you. We stood there in the parking lot, two people who'd once loved each other, now connected only by shared history and legal paperwork. What am I going to do? She asked finally. You're going to go to work tomorrow and pretend this never happened. You're going to finish our divorce proceedings and move on with your life, and you're going to remember that actions have consequences. Sam, I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. You thought Vincent was twice the man I'd ever be. You told me so. I was wrong. Yes, you were, but not about Vincent being better than me. You were wrong about thinking I'd be here waiting for you when it all fell apart. Helena's face crumpled. Please, Sam, can't we try again? Can't we work this out? I looked at her for a long moment, remembering the woman I'd married, the life we'd built together, the dreams we'd shared. But I also remembered her voice on the phone that first night, cold and certain as she explained to Vincent why I wasn't enough for her anymore. No, Helena, we can't. I walked away, leaving her standing in the parking lot with her broken dreams and her expensive dress and her newfound understanding of what it meant to be someone's disposable option. The divorce papers were signed the following Monday. The house sold 3 days later, and Helena never called me again. 6 months later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd taken a job with a marketing firm in Albany, starting over in a new city where nobody knew about her public humiliation at the Chamber of Commerce gala. Vincent and Claire Castellan remained married, though word around town was that he'd been sleeping in the guest room since that night at the hotel. As for me, I expanded my business, hired 2 more employees, and eventually asked Patricia Sinclair out on a real date. She said yes. Helena had been right about one thing. Vincent Castellan was twice the man I'd ever be. But as it turned out, that wasn't nearly enough.